What is up, guys? I'm Kyle at Fortune. We're getting ready to head out and start working on the Jeep. We're going to be cutting out those rear fenders so we can lower the Jeep 2 inches, and then we're going to install some Genrite extreme fender flares. Oh. So I decided to go with an angle grinder for cutting the tub in the rear of the Jeep. And that's because a Sawzall can seem like it'll just get away from you sometimes. And then those Dremel discs seem like they're just a little bit too small and fine and they'll want to shatter on you. So the angle grinder is working great. I don't even clean up most of these cuts. And the reason for that is because we're gonna have to hit this again when we put our corner armor on. And also it's gonna help us keep that rubber gasket on with those sharp edges. So a lot of these modifications we've been doing was to get enough opening for these 38s to ride on the Jeep with only a 3.5-inch leaf spring. Unfortunately, it still has a huge body lift in it that I want to take out. That way we can lower it down and have a much lower center of gravity. There's a look at that body lift right there. You can see it's a pretty big puck. Of course, we've got some gear oil leaking out the breather tube now, so never ends. But from the side, it looks like this, and I'm just hoping that we've got enough clearance right here, and hopefully we can lower it. It'll just be a lot lower of a Jeep. So the body lift's gonna affect a few things. One of the most noticeable things for me is the gear shifter. That all stayed in the same place. It's just kind of low when you're sitting in the Jeep. You know, going into 5th gear, you actually have to lean forward in the seat and reach for it. I don't know if it's like that for you guys with the AX15, but it is for me, and I don't really care for it, so it's gonna be nice to get that changed up. Got these nice new aluminum inner fenders on here recently, and this part is already almost touching this shock tower, and it's gonna have to go down 2 inches. So looks pretty flexible, like it's just gonna bend. Don't know for sure though. I really don't want to cut these inner fenders up. So all right, we've got the Daystar body lift kit. So yeah, we're not taking the body lift out completely. We're just replacing a 3-inch kit with this 1-inch kit, so it's going to lower it 2 inches. We're going to replace all the old beat up stuff with some fresh parts. You'd think this would be pretty straightforward, but there are directions, and it looks like a lot of these are different pieces. So let me grab those directions real quick. You can see it's got them labeled 1 through 6. At the bottom there, there's 3 different ways that these things go together for different positions. So I'm gonna get them all sorted like that. We're gonna loosen them all up on one side and start doing the other side. All right, there we go. We've got them all sorted by their position number. So there's 3 groups, like this front one's all by itself. This one is 2, 3, and 4, 5, 6. So what we've got to do now is basically loosen all of them on one side, and then on the other side, we're gonna start removing them in the order that the directions say. And then eventually we're gonna find a way to spread out the load from a jack and kind of jack this body up off of the frame a little bit so we can move these things in and out. But this plastic is like rock hard, and these are nice and soft, so hopefully that'll help with some vibrations as we're driving down the road. I decided to not even record most of it because it was just such a pain in a couple spots. We had rusted bolts, wrong size bolts, nuts that were rounded off or couldn't get out, but it's done. So check it out. This part of the inner fender just kind of bent around that shock tower right there, so that was fine. Although this part is touching the frame right there. There's no real movement or anything on it. I'm not sure if that's gonna bend. It's already kind of bent a little bit from lowering it on there. Whatever, we got to keep moving on. Got a lot of work to do before we take this thing out next. I decided to skip putting these bushings in the front. I'm gonna hold on to them for the next time I mess with the body, but we're just gonna skip it for now. But check it out. If you look at this thing by itself right now, it's just hard to tell, but man, it actually looks a lot better. I'm not sure if it was a full 2 inches we've lost coming down. It looks like it. It actually looks like it was even more than 2 inches. This rear tire is already getting kind of stuffed in there. You can see how close it would be if we didn't take that off right there and a couple inches right there. So glad we've got that done. We're gonna take it for a drive just to make sure everything's working right and feel how the shifters are in their new position. But one thing that is a concern right now that we're gonna have to address is the exhaust. The exhaust was done after the body lift was put on, so it is like smashed up against the body right now and there's no wiggle room in it. So I'm gonna drive it just to see if it will operate like this and make sure there's no weird vibrations, and then I don't know, maybe I'll try to fix it myself. Might have to take it to the exhaust shop. Next we need to look at putting our new fenders on the rear. So here's something that was always kind of weird with this Jeep. When that body lift was on here, this felt like it was 2 inches shorter, so it was down there. It always felt like I was reaching down to shift. First gear already feels a lot better. Second, third, fourth, this all feels much better. Fifth, I used to have to lean forward in my seat, push it all the way over. One thing I'm noticing now is that in fifth, you can't even have your fingers on the inside of the shift knob or you would hit the dash when you shift. So it's pretty close there. And then of course, reverse feels much better too. But I think what we're gonna need to do is heat up the bottom of this shifter and maybe bend it so it's a little bit more comfortable still. Aftermath. The red pieces here are actually part of the wheels that were on that creeper, so those got destroyed. Another casualty. So there we go. This is a very productive day. We've got a ton of stuff done. Here's how we're sitting. So the rear fenders, definitely unusual. I agree. I think they look better if we flipped them and we put them on the right way with the opening to the rear. We just don't need it right now. Like I said in a previous video, the hole would line up with this armor right here. So we'd have to drill through that steel and then there'd be a big gap all the way around because this is like 1/4 inch thick right here. So we just got to skip all of that and instead we just had to go through the sheet metal. 3 of these are inside of the cab so we can reach them from in there, the nuts on the other side, and then this one was easy to get on the back side. But I think it looks pretty clean. Although it looks unusual, I think it looks pretty cool too. I haven't really seen a Jeep that looks like this in the rear, and I like being a little different, so we got it. But the coolest part is that the Jeep is now sitting lower and we've got all of our armor on there and it all pretty much matches. I'm really digging it. So it's definitely one of those things that when you see it in pictures or in video, it looks one way, but in real life it looks another. It is unusual, I agree. When we get our new corner fenders on there, it's gonna cover up that whole corner with aluminum, and then we can flip those flares around, and I'm planning on just tacking them on, you know, aluminum to aluminum, so that way it's much more solid and we don't have to worry about any more bolts like we are right now. But overall, I think this install went really well for the flares. The cutting out of the tub looks pretty good. We've got a little bit more room to grow too. If you haven't subscribed yet, make sure you do that. That way you can watch the progress of this YJ. We've got a ton more stuff coming. We've got LED blinker lights. We've got flush mounted LED lights that we just got hooked up with. We still have to stretch the front of the Jeep 3 inches. We're gonna get some big old reservoir shocks for the front. We're gonna mess with these springs, a ton of stuff. So if you wanna be there with us, hit that subscribe button. Thanks for checking out this video. See you guys in the next one.